Nishan, comrades and friends, good evening. Allow me to express my appreciation and gratitude to all organizations, societies, and solidarity movements for issuing statements and sending letters of support and solidarity with Palestinian prisoners in their struggle for freedom and human dignity in Israeli jails. I would like to stress that your support encourages and strengthens Palestinian prisoners in this difficult time as they continue to fight for basic human rights and the realization of their just humanitarian demands. Your support also gives us strength in our just struggle to freedom, peace, and self-determination. We are touched by your loyalty to the principles and values of the South African Liberation Movement and by your loyalty to the words of the leader of the South African people, the late Nelson Mandela, when he said, "We know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians." South Africa plays an important role in leading the international solidarity with our just cause for right to self-determination and the establishment of the State of Palestine with East Jerusalem as its capital. Comrades and friends, since Israel began its illegal occupation of the West Bank, including East Jerusalem and Gaza in 1967, more than 800,000 Palestinians have been imprisoned in Israeli jails, and currently over 6,500 Palestinians, including women, children, elected officials, and journalists, are being held in Israeli jails. The entire international community should be alarmed by Israelis' deliberate breach of the rights and lives of Palestinian political prisoners, including the arbitrary arrest of Palestinians, Israel's continued use of administration detention and solitary confinement, the ill treatment, abuse, and torture of prisoners, the constant prevention of visitors by family members, and the deliberate medical neglect and lack of health care for Palestinians, among other flagrant violations. Comrades, today we highlight the critical issue of the 1,600 Palestinian prisoners who have been on hunger strike since 17 April 2017 in a protest of the inhuman measures they are being subjected to in Israeli captivity in violation of their basic rights and dignity. Through their peaceful, not violence, hunger strike under the title Freedom and Dignity. Now in its 17th day, they seek to call attention to the plight of Palestinian prisoners and detainees and to have their appeals heard for more human treatment in line with international humanitarian and human rights law. But their peaceful appeals have been met with a typical punitive response by Israel, which is determined on crushing any expression of rejection of the occupation and its illegal practices. Although many of the striking prisoners are now suffering decline health and illness, rather than address their request, Israel has decided to intensify its ill treatment of the hunger strikers, including by solitary confinement, sleep deprivation, separation, and withdrawal of the salt the prisoners had been taking with water since the strike began. Incitement against the prisoners by Israeli leaders has also been rampant, with one Israeli minister declaring that the government should be firm and, quote, I quote, even if it means letting prisoners die, close quote. As this situation worsens, tensions are rising in communities all across occupied Palestine, including East Jerusalem. Protests have been held in Palestinian cities and towns in solidarity with the hunger strikers. Public sympathy with their plight is strong, as are call for an end to the suffering and injustice they and their families are enduring. Regrettably, however, Israeli occupation forces, disregarding the high sensitivities on this matter, which has affected nearly every Palestinian family under occupation, have confronted protesters with excessive force, with over 50 protesters injured from tear gas and some shot with live or rubber bullets. We appeal to the international community to support the prisoners' hunger strike and to insist on Israel to respect international law and basic human rights of the prisoners and to comply with the United Nations resolutions to face accountability. Comrades and friends, your message of condemnation towards Israel's apartheid policies against Palestinian people and message of solidarity and support for our struggle will reach all Palestinian people, particularly families of all political prisoners who continue to suffer inhuman treatment in Israeli jails. We would like to extend our strongest salutes to one of the symbol of the Palestinian people and member of Fatah Central Committee, Marwan Barghouti, and all of his fellow Palestinian prisoners who continue to lead the struggle for victory and liberation. On this occasion, allow me to express our gratitude to the South African people and government for tirelessly standing with the Palestinian people and for the constant solidarity that reaffirms the strong bilateral relations between South Africa and Palestine. Comrades, the Palestinian prisoners' hunger strike is a humanitarian issue and one of the most crucial and occupying priority on the agenda of the Palestinian leadership. We hope that the strike will not last for long and that the prisoners will realize their just demands, which relate to ending arbitrary and punitive measures against them, the end of torture and ill treatment, the end of medical negligence, the end of the transfer of prisoners in cruel conditions, especially women, the end of the severe restrictions on their family visit rights and contacts with their loved ones, and respect of their right to education. We hope that Israel will end the dehumanization and captivity of the Palestinian people once and for all and meet the legitimate demands of Palestinian prisoners, which are grounded in international law. I thank you for your kind attention. May the peace, mercy, and blessing of God be upon you. Freedom to all Palestinian prisoners. Long live the friendship between Palestine and South Africa. Down with the occupation and injustice. Thank you very much.